with support from the Dagama Group.
Welcome to Rumbo Minero. Cesar, how's
It's
life?
a pleasure, Jorge.
I'm good. It's been a week. Very important. Expo Mina was a resounding success, Cesar, with excellent participation from the mining sector. I think mining has moved forward since Expo Mina. There will be a before and after due to the high quality of exhibitors, considering all sides of all the facets that exist in mining and how to solve problems, along with the strong presence of foreign mining ministers.
Certainly something to be proud of, not only as the Dagama Group that backed Expo Mina in its annual version, but also as Peruvians, as it is a key contribution that has been made to the main lever and engine of economic development of our country in the ongoing programs. We will provide details on how Expo Mina was this year.
That's correct. Juan Sheput will join us on this program to talk a bit about illegal mining and the problems that are arising, especially politically, as he is a specialist in politics. And what else can we expect?
Well, engineer Cesar Gutierrez Peña, who has been president of Petroperu, will talk about this state entity. As you know, the last 2 weeks have seen some truly incredible fluctuations.
Okay, since we are very happy with the work done, with the mission accomplished regarding Expo Mina, we want to show you a first delivery. We will have 2 more deliveries in the following programs, but this first installment of what Expo Mina was is for those who missed it, and those who attended can also view a summary. Go on.
These are the main mining news of the week.
In the context of Expo Mina Peru this year, the APEC Mining Summit occurred. An international conference that included delegations from APEC members featuring major economies like the United States, China, Japan, Canada, South Korea, Australia, and others. The event was overseen by Romulo Mucho, Minister of Energy and Mines, who pointed out the attendance of many mining nations at the meeting and the opportunities that exist in the sector thanks to innovation, the inclusion, and the role that minerals will have in the world. As part of the activities on the first day of Expo Mina Peru this year, the discussion on illegal mining took place. During the conference, Dario Segara, president of the board of directors of the Institute of Mining Engineers of Peru, indicated that his institution recently carried out an analysis of the formalization process and found that there is no governing body that takes full responsibility for it. It would be useful to have one. He stated that there was a significant demonstration of political determination to directly combat illegal mining.
All right, we have already come across Juan Sheput, former Congressman of the Republic and former Minister of Labor and Employment Promotion. Welcome, Juan, to Rumbo Minero.
How's it going, Jorge?
Juan, share a bit. Everyone is aware of the significant power that illegal mining has acquired over the past few years, to the extent that we are now discussing comparisons of the amounts involved, of export, of investment, resembling formal mining. It's astonishing how much this issue has developed. that on one hand, one could say about around 80% pertaining to informal and legal entities in Peru. One might say, well, that's normal. And it can also be said that it is an economy. It truly is an economy that doesn't pay taxes, but it engages the whole market depending on how one views certain. But the truth is that we have also seen a lot. From the government, there is no solution to attract them, to lure them into a tax system that is genuinely considered and that they can realistically handle. Where do you see the solution to this problem?
Well, first, I think the term can be romanticized when discussing illegal mining, making them seem informal. We must not forget that illegal mining is growing rapidly due to price issues, and there are also many people who increasingly depend on it, and above all, networks that develop around any kind of organized crime syndicate. Thus, when the issue is romanticized, it turns romantic. It is framed as a struggle against an informal sector. We are simply contributing to its consolidation. In the last 20 years, just to refer to this century, what we've observed is a series of NGO-like measures aimed at bringing those who resist formalization into compliance. And on the other hand, I believe these individuals have realized that rising prices give them resources to influence politics directly. They influence not just at the central government or congressional level, but also through local administrations, municipalities, and regional administrations. They have immediate political presence.
That is precisely what needs to be addressed more accurately. One, I would invite you to this discussion because we cannot isolate the issue of illegal or informal mining as if it were unrelated and without ties to the whole context of informality and illegality that we experience in many areas of Peru. By the way, now that illegal mining has surpassed drug trafficking, even in terms of capacity and economic resources, we must be wary of what you just mentioned in the last part of your initial remarks, the political influence. Because the political system, and you have experienced it as a congressman, it continues with new parties that lack identity and are just for hire. The presence of these individuals welcomes them so they can work together and profit from their collaboration, which is obviously illegal too. How do we stop this? How can we alter the political system to prevent the presence of representatives from illegal mining as was done in the past? As analysts Jaime Antesana and Jaime Garcia mentioned, there were drug-related factions which you did not see in full, but they certainly existed in Congress.
I believe the issue, as many have indicated, is complex. It has multiple sides, and they have realized that it is easy to influence politicians without being caught by an investigation network or the police, and from there, establish conditions to keep functioning. You can see this in this Congress and earlier ones, as they pass laws that benefit them with minimal discussion. And all factions, both right and left, support them. Don't forget that in 2014, if I'm right, illegal miners said they gave Ollantaytamala's party 900,000 sols and $49,000 to Daniel Abugatas. He reported this, obviously, right? But a leader from that time, Chandubi, said, no, I financed him in 2011. If that happened back in 2011, just think about what's happening now with remarkable price movements and all that sort of thing. Therefore, from that very moment, that the government is adamant about romantic decisions, as I perceive it, to state, let's summon the formal ones. If they can't handle the formal ones from other sectors, the informality in Peru is 80%. They'll struggle more with the finances, illegal, criminal, so measures need to be adopted like in Colombia. Look, I have studied 4 years in Colombia, and there you can't possess a dollar, and if you want to exchange it, you have to present your ID and a series of things. Here, dollars are a currency for exchange without any problems, and I believe that the production chain of these gentlemen must be addressed, that is, suppliers, to cut off the supplies, to set up a committee that includes not just the Minister of Energy and Mines, who is chaired by the Premier, not only that, but also all the ministers related to the production chain, allowing us to tackle it in different places, because we are talking about an organized crime that has various levels. It even has hotels. In other words, it has everything it needs to operate.
Now that you talk of romance, what do you think of this proposal from the government to create an alternative similar to life with drug trafficking, having three main axes, the main ones, formalization, eradication, and recovery?
Look, in that regard, when it comes to DeVita, what are the results? A public policy is evaluated based on its results. And in this case, what has happened with DeVita in recent years? Coca hectares have increased a lot. Why? No way to compete. When I was labor minister, I was trying to find a way to take the farmers out of the coca leaf collection, particularly the miners involved in it. And a series of projects were generated from the past to redirect those young people who are not working under drug trafficking, but in projects from the ministry. And what drug trafficking paid daily was 15 times more. Not 10 or 5, but 15 times more each day than what the ministry paid. There's no way to compete. It's simple. During harvest, there's no way to.
Plus one, the fact that, as you rightly say, a plan that hasn't worked, trying to enter problematic areas, but it hasn't worked. How do you access those places, programs that...
They've worked. It's like the re-info. I don't know why we keep pushing it, right? I mean, you want to give characteristics to the re-info as if it's the mechanism for these guys to become formal. But what have they achieved? They've realized the gaps in this program and say, while I'm registered, no one can touch me. Yes, they can touch you. So I register and then I sabotage it. I make something.
Let's hope that happens in
December, I won't broaden the re-info, which looks like what will happen, right? I think this will happen for two simple reasons. First, the government's and ministers' political incapacity. And when I say political incapacity, I don't mean their professional training. Politics is about shaping opinions. Politics involves confronting diverse currents of opinion and standing up for your project or beliefs. And with ministers who have an inferiority complex, who don't step up, who don't engage, who don't confront, this simply moves along by inertia to any place. Secondly, we are in an electoral year. In December, we enter the electoral year, right? By 2025, we're discussing a clearly electoral year. So it will be very difficult for those political groups that require or have previously needed money from these instances to go against them. And they will threaten them with protests and all that sort of thing. And when the minister presents, likely pushed by well-intentioned advisors, a bill like the MAPE that states it's being socialized, in my view, the only thing this MAPE bill will serve is as a pretext to say, while the new law is implemented, or while the regulations are set, let's extend the re-info. In short, it's the perfect excuse to expand the re-info. The perfect new excuse, the perfect new one. Why? Because that B, which we can't even debate since it's not final, is just being socialized. A term that for me is also, I'm not sure if it's a vague term, because the discussion should be in full swing. The ministry should set up seminars and universities, and especially a minister, if they believe in a project, must go out and say, I believe in this, and persuade and go to Congress, to the Commission to convince, not just to mention contributions. When they mention contributions, the period ends and they form what they have received as contributions. From there, we have several more months, and then what will happen? When December arrives, the minister will say, look, here's the bill, I'll present it, but while we discuss this, let's add another year, or 2, or 3, or 4. Okay, so that can't be the case.
I am extremely grateful, Juan Sheput. Clear points. Thanks for being here. First time at Rumbo Minero. We look forward to having you again in the future, as there is a lot to cover in the mining sector, which provides numerous resources to the government and the people of Peru. But we have to, on one hand, maintain formality, make the investments much larger, and need to resolve this issue that we are facing.
And above all, Peru must understand that one cannot turn their back on formal mining. That's how it is. Mining serves as our major resource base, so we need to look at it through a different lens than the one created by those who are against it.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's have a break.
Get ready to become a talent in the mining industry by studying and living in the same place. In less than 11 months, you can achieve your dream with a technical career at Setamine, the only boarding school in Peru. We provide a comprehensive setting for your education, equipped with all you need to study and thrive. Check out setamine.edu.pe.
We return now. In our international block, we are currently linked with José Gonzales, the international editor of Rumbo Minero magazine. In our segment, America Mining, to New York. José, how are you?
I'm doing very well, Jorge. I'm delighted to be with you all every week.
José, tell us a little bit. Let's see. There's a very important topic. The National Security Advisor to President Joe Biden, Sullivan, has met in Beijing with the President of China. Xi Jinping confirmed following the meeting that President Biden will participate in the APEC summit in Peru this November, after the President has confirmed. Prior to this, she has confirmed attendance. Additionally, obviously, to inaugurate the port of Shanghai, do you think a summit will happen again later? Compared to what they had in San Francisco the previous year? What are the implications for Peruvian mining, which is our focus? Okay, the presidents are going to come, obviously, from the United States and China. Always, they cut it differently, isn't it? But still, Corio Port is here and we have some investments. And these two giants, titans of the global economy, could influence a larger investment in mining.
Yes, Jorge. Jake Sullivan, who visited China to meet with Chinese government officials, had an unexpected meeting with Xi that was not on the agenda. According to reports from the White House, during the meeting, Sullivan drew Xi's attention to China's economic security policy, which is causing the country to which restricts technology exports, giving preferences to Chinese firms and subsidizing local businesses with prices lower than those of foreign countries. Sullivan stated that these actions greatly impact Western firms and supply chains. The National Security Advisor also noted that his trip to China was aimed at facilitating relations between the two countries in light of the upcoming government change in January. He emphasized that Vice President Harris has played a key role in the foreign policy of the Biden administration, sharing the president's vision on managing competition between both countries responsibly so that conflict does not arise, promoting high-level communication between both governments. Prior to ending his visit to China, Sullivan noted that Biden and Xi would speak by phone in the coming weeks and that both leaders would meet in person at the PAC in Peru. The Chinese government has notified the Peruvian embassy that Xi will be attending, and the U.S. has communicated likewise. In response, Xi said that Beijing looks forward to Washington finding the right way to interact with China. Even with the significant changes both nations have seen, Xi affirmed that China's commitment to a stable, healthy, and sustainable relationship remains intact. The exchanges between both nations frame what the discussions between Biden and Xi may involve during their meeting at the PEC in a suitable setting for meeting on neutral ground. In the last meeting in San Francisco last year, discussion shifted to restoring relations between the two countries, halted by the tariff war set by the Trump administration and COVID, the global conflict issues, and the energy requirements of both countries. International observers expect the meeting in Lima to continue the dialogue on such topics impacting the positions of both countries regarding global mineral resources and the supply chains related to them. In fact, it is already being noted that the PIC in Peru will be the PIC of mining, considering that it will inaugurate the Chancay port there, which will offer a strategic edge in the region. Alfredo Ferrero, the Peruvian ambassador in Washington, highlighted the significance of the port, the prospective port in Corio, Arequipa, to President Biden personally, when he submitted his credentials. Nearshoring and friendshoring, seeing Peru as a key source for metal refining, should also be part of Biden's proposals during his trip to Peru. Indeed, mining is central to the meeting, Jorge.
Clearly and undoubtedly, by 2024, based in Peru, it has begun to concentrate on mining, specifically with the Expomina event we just conducted. Tell me, Jose, the gold price has indeed experienced a rise. Importantly, it has exceeded the average of $2,500 an ounce, and this leads us to look at how the gold futures market is performing and how these increases might show in the prices.
Indeed, Cesar, in the past weeks, gold has stayed near the crucial level of $1,500 the ounce, fluctuating near historical highs due to the pressure of a stronger dollar and rising yields on bonds from G5 economies. According to Trading Economics, the prices of the precious metal have varied fundamentally in relation to the economic data from the United States, which indicate a slowdown in inflation and a deceleration in job creation. This supports expectations for a reduction in interest rates by the U.S. Federal Reserve, proposed by President Jerome Powell during the central bankers meeting in Jackson Hole, Wyoming a few weeks back. The financial markets anticipate a significant reduction in the Fed funds rates, which is the U.S. interbank rate, by 50 basis points, which stands at 0.50% this September, despite better than expected economic growth. This might result in a cut of not 50 basis points, but 25 basis points instead. Nonetheless, markets continue to expect that in the 3 upcoming meetings of the Fed's Open Market Committee, interest rates in the U.S. will be reduced by 1%. It's important to note that generally gold prices move opposite to interest rates. When rates go up, gold goes down. When rates go down, gold goes up.
Peru, many thanks to José Gonzales for this significant information. Until next week, and we hope to bring more news. Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
Well, let me show you, of course, the magazine Rumbo Minero Leader. If you are a client or a supplier in the mining sector or want to be, grab your yearly package of the Rumbo Minero magazine and its social media. It's really a magazine quite significant, one of the finest magazines in South America, both in its content as well as everything that America Mining also represents. Visit www.rumbominero.com and you can access the magazine virtually and for free so everyone can learn a bit more about mining. Cesar.
Yes, Jorge, it's time to introduce the APSEC mining assets segment.
The environmental conditions in La Roya were very complicated. Peru had to assume its protective responsibility to safeguard the health of the population and the ecosystem.
Previously, the streets and roads were mud. They were dirt. Therefore, pollution was present. But that has changed since mining assets have been covered and remediated. Everything that was contaminated, so to speak, has now been covered.
These days, Alto Marcaval has made significant progress in commerce and transport. Jobs have been created. It is almost a whole new quality of life. This area, as they say, it has developed quite a bit. And thanks to that, we now have further development of our association here in Alto Marcavale.
Even the animals previously suffered from the lameness that is mentioned. Lameness affected little animals that couldn't walk through the grass due to pollution. Today that disease has disappeared.
In these places, with contaminated and exposed soils, I played with my brother, friends, and family. I am filled with joy to work for a company that has made a difference in Orolo. The children today now have an entirely different reality.
Now we have Cesar Gutierrez with us, as we all know, the former president of Petroperu and one of the most knowledgeable people about this issue. We keep talking about Petroperu because the truth is, it's not a minor issue. It's not just a company, but it also deeply affects all Peruvians with the contributions that are constantly being made for its survival. Cesar, welcome to Rumbo Minero. Thanks, Jorge. All right. We're thrilled. Let us know a little. There's discussion once more about the rescue effort. There's talk again about needing to help it, because if we don't help Petroperu, then we're left behind. You spoke about this some time ago, about looking to form a bankruptcy, a winding down, as with the Peruvian football teams. Given the new information you possess, where should we head concerning Petroperu? Well, the fact is that the solutions are increasingly limited, fewer choices. Another thing I wanted to ask in this context is, if Petroperu falls, does the investment grade also drop? That's what I wanted you to clarify for us.
See, insolvency. When I talked 6 months back, I was considering local bankruptcy because there are two sides, local and international. We have $3 billion in New York, which was a separate issue. There we had to approach what the Americans call Chester and Levin. And local bankruptcy is present despite local creditors. It doesn't affect the suppliers. My proposal was for them to handle the company and be keen on generating cash flow to pay their own obligations. But if it's already passé, it's because the state has emerged as the main local creditor. So insolvency, just the state, is pointless. Currently, it has continued since August 20. There's been a need for $2 billion. It's a recurring topic. President Petroperu has recently repeated this in an interview with Diario del Comercio, $2 billion in urgent capital. Beyond the restructuring matter, there's even discussion about a request for clarifications from the Petroperu director, who could potentially go bankrupt. But I assert we cannot go bankrupt or liquidate because we have an external problem. The contracts and bonds indicate that only the indication of bankruptcy or liquidation would mean the bonds wouldn't be collected the following day. So we have $1 billion in 2032, $2 billion in 2047. Declaring bankruptcy and insolvency would mean they would demand $3 billion right now. It's true that the state hasn't endorsed it, its owner. If that's
Will you give $2 billion?
That's why it's another topic. Therefore, the $3 billion in collections right now, they would take the state, but they won't sue the state as it has no owner. That's why you can't discuss bankruptcy or insolvency. You must see how to fix the immediate issue. $1 billion is impossible because the fiscal deficit restricts you. It's greatly surpassed.
We're talking more than a Tia Maria, which we celebrate on one side, while on the other,
Certainly
they
it's
want...
more. We're talking about more than a chanque. It could be a chanque port with change included, not merely
all that
chanque.
effort for things. While on the other hand, they just want to cash a check and...
Of course, the other issue is that they have been managing debt all through July and August in international markets with sovereign guarantees. But as the equity has dropped to $1.1 billion and the debt is 8,500, the equity ratio is eightfold. So what international banks say is fine. I trust your sovereign guarantee, but bring down the debt to equity ratio. And that means the state needs to capitalize your debt. But it's a problem for the month as well. Today, the debts as loans total $1.55 billion with the state, one directly with the month, and another through the national bank secured by the month.
But Cesar, not even kicking for the 31st of July.
Topic. It's a separate issue.
Alvaro,
but
yes.
with this, to clarify that point,
yes.
If I, for instance, if I capitalize the $1.55 today it shows on the state's account as receivables. If I capitalize, it appears as an outflow and goes to the fiscal deficit. I can't capitalize right now. What I've done lately with the month is to announce that the 1,550,000,000 debt is postponed to 2028. That's okay. It helps, but it's not enough. The matter is how to decrease the equity ratio. The month will have to figure about capitalizing something, not this year, because it can't, and see how to align it in the budget for the year 20. That will be necessary because with that you can't even sell, because plainly the cash flow is negative between earnings and expenses. The state will need to handle part of that. Now the 2 billion is impossible. So what I was saying is, what are the solutions? Look, what I was saying, I always talked about postponement, and well, it's done now. Now what's needed is why they require cash. Because they have pending issues with suppliers who can hold the supply, cut off the supply, hold the refinery, less income to pay off debt. So what do I advise? The state can provide a guarantee for accounts receivable. You have a supplier invoice, the guarantee part is that they visit the bank or talk about discounting with the state's guarantee, they could discount. With that, you solve the short-term issue. The long-term issue of capitalizing last year's debt, and then management will come. Management is another aspect of being credible, that with future cash flows, you will cut debt and think about selling to the private sector as you will in the political decision.
But if they don't give them the money they need, they'll still go under.
No, but I was saying that you don't have cash. Provide a guarantee that it happens, but you risk them running out of cash again. I would say already future oil revenues seem like a trust.
My question was about the country's rating.
Oh no.
In the event of a fall, let's say Petro no longer works. Peru, does the nation suffer at all?
No, it wouldn't suffer. It's not handled that way. But yes, it would suffer because creditors would show up and you'd have to pay. The fiscal deficit disappears and then you encounter fiscal risk. Sure, not because of Petro's decline, but because the decline forces you to resolve accounts that would mean a greater fiscal deficit. And with that, if you necessarily think that...
Now, in your capacity as a consultant on these topics, Cesar, how do you perceive the private sector, even from the restructuring proposal put forth by Oliver Stark's board about creating a PMO, participation, governance, and transparency? Overall, how do you see the private sector's attitude toward focus on Petro? Or is it rather distant from showing interest?
It can happen. Locally, no one has the management of that. They are very large amounts. You're referring to purchases of $4 billion each year for crude input and sales of around 5,000 to your clients. No local private entity can oversee that, even less for running a refinery. You need to go to the international market, but you cannot sell it. What could work is having a manager, but you have to be careful. The manager has enormous responsibility. The $4 billion in purchases, $5 billion in sales, managing 16 storage terminals during the debt restructuring must be done with complete transparency because it could be that.
Well, it's about their great financial strength, compadre.
We will talk of the restructuring. Let's say the manager is a manager. Don't invest money. They need to seek funding, restructure, engage with the state, capitalize debt with the state, converse with the state. The process must be super transparent, knowing what tasks are assigned and under what conditions and when they will be paid. If there's no transparency in that, the situation, I think, gets much more serious because in the eyes of financiers, it will generate a lot of doubt what can be done.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Cesar, for being here. Cesar Gutierrez, always clear in your thoughts. There's much to cover. We'll see what unfolds in the next few days, but I think this interview will serve to inform them. The serious alternatives the government has, keeping in mind all that could happen both outside and inside, right?
We can't only focus on the company's problems. We must also consider the state that can be affected by decisions about the company.
As it is a public company, of course. Excellent. Thank you very much. Now, let's go to a commercial break.
We are the premier industrial supply purchasing center in Peru. Having 53 years of experience, we provide efficient, flexible, and reliable supply services, with an offering of over 1 million codes in collaboration with national and international suppliers. Visit our website at www.efc.com.p. EFC, you need it, we deliver.
Next, join us to see the supplier segment.
On Rumbo Minero TV, we now present the supplier segment for the mining sector.
In our supplier block on Rumbo Minero, we extend a warm welcome to Paolo Fonttis, the regional manager from Bradken, a significant company with a presence in the national market, of course, and greeting. Certainly in this connection, we ask Paolo how many years Bradken has been in the mining sector and what products and services they provide.
Well, thank you, Cesar, for the invitation. Bradken specializes in steel linings for the mining industry. We have 100 years of experience in the field at a global level. Currently, we operate 9 foundries strategically located worldwide to meet all client needs. In Latin America, we have been present Since then, we have clients like Antamina, Las Bambas, Cerro Verde, and currently Quellaveco. In the last 2 years, Bradken has already invested in Peru. We have purchased a hybrid plant located in Lima, which fulfills or complements our clients' needs for different types of linings. So not only in steel, but also in hybrid. Bradken, this year as well, is investing in a foundry currently being set up in Chilca to serve all of South America. Bradken collaborates closely with its clients to find tailored solutions, since each client is a different story, always adapting to their goals and involving all areas. For instance, we collaborate directly with maintenance, plant operations, and metallurgy, who give us the needed information for the best services we can give our clients.
Excellent, Pablo. Share with us how innovation and technology have progressed at Bradken in the activities it conducts in our country.
Currently, just like our clients who have migrated from control centers and operations, in real time, we have also embraced technology. At present, we provide a technology known as Smart Liner, which we are applying in linings for chutes, for material transfer chutes on the belts, which will allow us to monitor wear in real time. We are already testing this same technology in linings for mills and hope to have positive results by the end of this year, and installing them in operation next year. We also have external bolting in mills. This is to avoid having workers inside the mill during relining or when changing linings, thereby not exposing the workers. Additionally, we can integrate technology that allows us to minimize installation times. In the same way, we provide bolts with real-time torque. The benefit of these technologies is to avoid bolt breakage or at least prevent it, allowing maintenance is more preventive than emergency maintenance.
Finally, we would appreciate it if you could tell us how you follow up with clients in the post-sale.
With clients, we seek not just a simple sale, but a synergy between the client and Bradken. For this, our post-sale services are training programs, commonly referred to as workshops, ultrasonic inspection, and laser scanning. This laser scan, for instance, enables us to provide wear reports. Typically, in 6 or 12-month campaigns for some equipment like mills, we can begin to prevent problems and give them the exact change date. We also do load trajectory simulations, optimization of designs, finite element analysis, and any other data evaluation work, be it metallurgical or mechanical, as needed.
Well, thank you very much to Paolo Fonttis, Regional Manager of Bradken, for this interesting interview, wishing him success, of course, in his future management. a commercial break, and we'll be back with Mining Direction.
Delicious.
Well, we've reached the end. It has definitely been a week of hard work, but with the satisfaction of a job completed, Cesar, about the work done at this great Espomina fair, really everything as it should be. I believe it has been, as you said, a contribution from Grupo Di Gama to Peru. And I think it will create a lot of buzz in the coming days, which it already is, but it will create even more.
Veteran. Furthermore, we will provide some summaries in the next programs that will be interesting, that are going to jog the memories of attendees. The importance of the forums we established at Expomina on the 24th for those who could not attend, but I should also mention that we will continue with the interview format. We had Juan Sheput, who very well discussed the topic of mining in Peru illegally and making all Peruvians aware that it is indeed one of the many illegal sectors operating in Peru. Don't isolate it from the context. And Cesar Gutierrez, who speaks to us about Petroperu.
Yes, Cesar Gutierrez giving us less and less room to maneuver, but it is truly a very complicated situation for Petroperu. He explained the implications also abroad with the bonds. I feel we need to make prompt decisions or develop a plan that is executed. But the point is, we will continue discussing this matter until Petroperu reaches a certain point or simply undergoes liquidation. We don't know. There are many options. We will continue to invite specialists to contribute to the companies, to provide the government with various opinions, voices from the experienced. Well, thank you very much for being with us. We thank both Cesar Campos and Jorge Leon. Always on the same channel, and in a moment, Peru Construye will air. Thank you.